Hashtag Blessed is a pretty good film, and I think with some really important messages. The protagonist's a little irritating, but eventually she becomes a little bit more likable. This was released in 2022. It's directed by Stephanie McBain. It's written by Dalea Faulkner, and it stars Isabella Blake Thomas as Jessi. We also have Mama Char as Grandma. We have Joel Christopher Payne as Saint Nick, a character I rather enjoyed a lot. And Jessi feels like she has nothing in her life, and she has a bit of a sad backstory. I won't go into it in too much detail, but there are, I guess, factors that would lead her to feeling quite depressed, and it actually gets really heavy at one point. But I don't want to spoil too much. But she is irritating, at least to begin with. But there are reasons why she may not be the happiest, jolliest person, and obviously, as the title kind of suggests, there's this social media aspect where she sees all of her friends online, leading these amazing lives, making these extravagant purchases, and despite the fact that her grandmother, who is a wonderful character, tries to tell her that that's not real life, it's just a snapshot of somebody's life polished to look shiny. Obviously, Jessi is still thinking that's their life, and I feel like that's very understandable. I think all of us know that what we see on social media is generally not an accurate or full picture, but at the same time, we still look at those pictures and think, why is their life so amazing, and I'm sitting here struggling with X or Y? And I think it's a message that many, many people will be able to relate to, and the message here is just, look at what you have, and also allow yourself to be happy, because with Jessi, and again, as her grandmother pointed out, she's such a great character. Jessi feels bad about her life because she's allowing herself to feel bad about her life. And yes, there are things in her life that are not great, but she's not allowing herself to look at the positives. She's not able to see the good things because she's so fixated on the negatives. And again, and I speak for myself, I think this is something many of us can relate to. So there are some really brilliant messages in here and so many solid takeaways. And as the film progresses, Jessi slowly begins to understand these messages. But I won't say too much about how that comes about or ultimately what happens. And there are a couple of really heavy moments as well. I'd say the first half is almost very dark. And it does obviously pick up at certain points. And I think the narrative's very well handled. It's also very festive. It gets more festive as it goes along. We have a lot of red costumes and Christmas decorations, and we have the character of Saint Nick, who I think is great. So in general, I think it's a really decent narrative, very well executed, a really nice amount of Christmas. Jessi isn't the most likable protagonist, but as I said, maybe that's understandable, and it's not that she doesn't go through any character development or anything. The only other issue I have with this, and it stopped being an issue, but some of the scenes, the audio for Jessi's dialogue, and I didn't notice this with anybody else's dialogue, but some of her scenes had audio that was just a little bit, not quite echoey, it sounded maybe a little bit muffled. And I'm willing to accept that maybe it's just the version I watched it on Tubi. I'm in the UK. Maybe other uploads, I don't know where else it's available. Maybe it's on Amazon in some countries. But the audio is not perfect at certain moments. But either I got used to it or it was rectified, I'd say after the first third. So either way, it becomes manageable or it disappears. But that's just a small issue that I had at the beginning. But that aside, I'm pretty happy with it. I thought #Blessed had some absolutely fantastic messages and some really great ways of delivering those messages. And I have to say, while I didn't like Jessi, for a lot of the film, the character of her grandmother really made up for it. I thought she was fabulous. So definitely a film that I thought was thought-provoking, meaningful, moving, and entertaining. And if it sounds like it would appeal to you, or if you think you could really benefit from these messages, then I'd say #Blessed is probably worth checking out.